Good morning, everyone. I hope you can see me. Good morning. I'm Julian Stanley. I've been working with my colleague Doriana Monteloni to run the self-assessment tool. And I'm going to talk today particularly about what the tool shows that the codes in the network are working on and what they want to achieve. We've got limited time, so we're going to focus on the priority areas of development. Unfortunately, we have with us today a couple of colleagues from COVES, Daniela Manic from the Aviation Academy in Belgrade and Liha Arasti from Miguel Altuna Lambidi Hesikitai in Begara in the Basque Country in Spain. And they're going to help us by telling us about the actual practices going on in those schools. So next slide, please. Great, thank you very much. So this first slide is a summary to try and give you an idea of which areas of excellence COVES in our network are currently working on. And you can see at the top there, we have Dimension B, and you can see at the bottom, Dimension B is pedagogy and professional development. We pulled out one of the indicators there, which is that all teachers should have relevant industrial professional work experience. But that's indicative of all of that dimension. In other words, the dimension of professional development and of pedagogy. And we see that more than half of all of the centres in the ENE network, or at least half of those who completed the self-assessment, are working on that currently. Or they're looking to achieve that within a couple of years. So that's a priority area of development. Underneath that, we see skills for greening, which Jarrell mentioned as being a priority area for the Commission, but it turns out also to be a priority area of development for the ENE members. And under that, we see autonomy, because C is the area of autonomy, of developing capacity to run your own affairs, to control your own curriculum. And we see that about 50%, 51% in fact, of all of the ENE members are working on developing that indicator and generally the area of autonomy. The next one down is the area of smart skills specialization. We see 47% are working on that area, and so on down. So this gives us already an idea of what the ENE members are seeking to do. Could we go on, please, to the next slide? Okay, so in this next slide, we drill down to look in a little bit more detail, particularly at the area of pedagogy, so that we can see within pedagogy which particular elements people are working on. And what these numbers show is they show, not in percentage terms, but in real terms, I think 72 schools participated in this self-assessment when it took place at the end of last year. And it gives you some idea of which particular elements of these areas of excellence schools are currently focusing on, or prioritizing in their development work. So we see, for example, schools are looking to increase the number of training events that they provide for their own staff. Schools are looking to increase the amount of collaboration that teachers do in developing their lessons, in developing their programs of study. We see that teachers are looking to develop formative assessment for both individual and group tasks. We see that schools are wanting to develop their capacity to evaluate the impact of professional development. At the bottom of the chart, there's a group of relatively highly rated areas of development which are to do with collaboration, to do with working with other schools, to do with working with industry, to do with sharing their practice across networks. And these are all areas which are relatively important for schools at the moment, areas where they're investing time, where they're seeking to develop. And obviously, what we're thinking is that if these are the areas which are the most important development areas for centres in the ENE network, these are the areas that the network should be seeking to support. And we envisage this support as being support that centres can give to one another. By sharing what they're doing, by showing what they're experimenting with to address these areas. Next slide, please. So the way we think we might be able to approach this within the network is to build what we're calling practice exchange communities. And these would be communities of perhaps 10 to 20 NA centers of vocational excellence, which would collaborate. And they would collaborate by regularly exchanging good practices on a digital platform or by meeting them face-to-face. That would give them an opportunity, we think, to build a relationship of trust, to have some understanding of what they were doing and where they got to and what their priorities were. And that trust would be a basis for which them to say, well, perhaps we can cooperate, perhaps we can develop some curriculum together, perhaps we can apply to participate in this project together. Because, of course, that kind of cooperation depends upon a little bit of trust. It might enable them, therefore, to decide where the overlaps in development were. You know, which were the areas which were interesting to both of these centres, or to 2 or 3 or more centres, which were common interest, where for a period of time it would be worthwhile for them to cooperate. And additionally, of course, it's an opportunity for COVES to enhance their international engagement and to enhance their profile. And we know that this is also an area where many COVES in our network are looking to develop their presence. So that's explaining to what we've learned about the priorities. But I want to go on now to give you an opportunity to find out about the kind of good practice which we've discovered exists. And this morning we're going to look particularly at good practice in the area of professional development, but also in the area of pedagogy. And rather than me telling you about that, we've invited teachers from COVES to tell you more about that. So I'm going to start off by inviting Daniela Manic from the Aviation Academy in Serbia to talk about some of the practices which have been going on in the Aviation Academy in order to enable teachers to develop new capacities, to learn from other schools, and to share those new ideas across the staff of the academy. So, Daniela, can I ask you to say a few words about what you've been doing in the Aviation Academy?
Hello, nice to meet you. Good morning to everyone. I'm proud to be today in this conference, and of course on behalf of my school to be a member of this great network. Actually, I'm an English teacher, an aviation English teacher, and I'm the coordinator for international cooperation as well. So today I will share with you a few words about my school, just to introduce a little bit. Next slide, please. And then I will explain you how we develop teaching skills and competencies. Next slide, please. Thank you. Actually, we are the unique VAT school in the region because we teach military and civil aviation educational profiles, and we are, we are very well known for dual education and for Erasmus mobilities. And what we used up from the experience in Erasmus, for example, in the last year, we have a cooperation with too many schools from Europe, aviation schools, and the most interesting experience that we acquired in the mobilities is, for example, how to use digital teaching tools in teaching practice. For example, I had that possibilities to be involved in that mobility, and 7 days before COVID, I got a lot of experience and expertise about digital tools, and that was shown as very useful in the forthcoming years. So how we do and how we develop and share and disseminate what we learned on these mobilities is after the mobility we organize a meeting, and then we organize some experimental lessons. students, all other teachers who are ready to and who are willing to learn something new. They attend my lesson. I show them what I learned and what competence and what teaching materials have acquired. And this is not only how we do it in my school. We disseminate and share these experiences and these skills and competencies all around the country. So this is a part of teachers Erasmus mobilities is something that we are supposed to do throughout the project duration. A lot of innovations were implemented after each mobility. For example, teaching resources and materials were adjusted, improved. Some syllabus, content syllabus were improved. New subjects were also involved. So, we function like a big family. We, since this is a vet school, we have a cooperation with vet teachers. So we share experience, having a lot of meetings, discussions, having experimental lessons. And at the end of all these activities, all these steps, these activities are recognized in my school and in my country as a professional development inside the institution. So, teachers' attendance are graded with some, points, and then these activities are recognized as professional development of a specific competence or teaching competence in all.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Daniela. I think that's really interesting to see how effective you are, not only at reaching out to learn from other schools, but how systematic you are about sharing these new pedagogies with your staff, enabling them to practice and develop them, and then recognizing this new learning. Because without those later stages, I think it's clear that the transmission of new pedagogies is often relatively weak. I'm going to invite now Liher Erasti from Bulgaria in the Basque Country to talk a little bit about the new pedagogies which they've introduced. And I think it's very interesting to see how these new pedagogies have been introduced into an environment, a curriculum where they're teaching advanced manufacturing. Liher.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you to everyone for coming here. As you can see my slide, my name is Liher Erasti, and I am a teacher and pedagogic coordinator of the TASI team for the mechanical production scheduling cycle at Miguel Altuna. The public is a public center, and it's located in the Basque Country, northeast part of Spain, close to the French border. And the center is composed of 76 teachers and 608 students. All the training cycles that are taught are industrial. And although we are not a large center, we are within a network of centers led by the Basque government. We can change slide, please. And the pedagogical framework I will talk about is called TASI, and it was created by Technica, a Basque Vet Applied Research Center, promoted by the Education Department of the Basque government in 2013. And the main methodology that the TASI uses is challenge-based collaborative learning, and it has like 4 principal characteristics. Well, this is not the last. Okay. The third characteristic is intermodularity, and here we think that the challenges that the students have to solve, they have to be as close as possible to reality, and that's why we must involve all the subjects in these challenges. And of course, when we talk about collaborative, like our students work on teams, we try to make them a heterogeneous team so they can learn from each other. And we make them to play some different roles so they can feel like a real working environment. The second characteristic is self-managed teaching teams. What it means that all the learning process is controlled by a small number of teachers. Like we meet every week and we have the responsibility of the schedules, spaces, what material they use, what challenges they're gonna do. So that's the difference. Like we are like kind of 4 or 5 teachers for all the cycle, and we stay the whole years with the same student. and all the classes, like all the subjects, like we give them to all the subjects. The third characteristic is the evaluate competencies. For us, the evaluation is really important, and we try to involve the student on them. We separate these competencies in technical skills and in soft skills. Of course, to evaluate the technical skill, we still continue doing exams because we think that they have to have some minimum learnings to pass these challenges. But we have incorporated, we are incorporating our school to the Industry 4.0, and we are digitizing our workshop so they can measurement their evolution, like checking how many hours they are working, who is sending the drawings to the machine, and this all. And from the other part, like we evaluate the soft skill. For this, we have a skill evolution tool created by Technica, and I have to say that we just don't evaluate the teacher, the soft skill, even the students evaluate themselves. Of course, as I said, that evaluation is really important. Like we used to do some feedbacks to involve the students in the learning process. And on this feedback, we just talk with them to see what is correct, what they have to improve, and make some arrangement with them just to make this improvement. And of course, all of this can't be done if we don't have like new adapted learning spaces. We are quite lucky because we have a new building that was built in 2019, and we have created like flexible open spaces and facilities that encourage active collaborative work, as you can see on the pictures. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. I think that's very impressive to see that not only at Miguel Altuna are there sort of one or two good practices, but that you have a systemic approach to active pedagogy, so that you have built in adaptable environments, collaboration between teachers, collaborative learning between students, authentic learning, formative assessment. So it's impressive, I think, that you've woven together all these improvements in pedagogy in order to produce a very high quality, a very intensive and engaging form of learning, I think. We've got an opportunity now for some questions. I don't see any questions as yet, but if there are questions, it's an opportunity now for you to signal questions. And if those questions can be passed over to me, we can take some questions. Perhaps I can start off with a question, seeing as we don't seem to be any questions as yet. I wonder, Liha, if I can ask you. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to persuade teachers to take up new ways of teaching. Teachers who perhaps have been working for a long time and are quite successful in their teaching. They're highly skillful and knowledgeable, and they get results. And it's a bit difficult sometimes to persuade them to change their habits of a lifetime. Can you give us any advice about how that can be done?
I know it's really difficult. Like we are trying to change a culture, and of course, like teachers that are like teaching a lot of time, they don't want to change. But with the help of the government and Technica, like we are doing different courses, and of course, like we separate, like each cycle have one coordinator, and of course we try to push and to make a team culture and try to help to those teachers that they don't want to change, just to make them easier to make the change, and just like making every week meetings, fighting a bit. Like I think we are changing, and I think it's really nice experience.
Okay, thank you. I think it's good that you end with the notion of it being a nice experience, because I think, if everyone is having a good time, and if they feel everyone else is having a good time, they're much more likely to take the risk of changing, I think. I mean, Daniela, can I ask you a similar question? I mean, you said that you offered these experiences for those teachers who were interested, who wanted to change, and they were the ones who came to these experiments. What do you do about the teachers who are not so interested? I mean, some of the teachers in the academy perhaps are not so interested in learning, new ways of doing things from other schools. Have you got any way of engaging them?
I have to admit there are no interest teachers. Everyone is interested in innovations.
Wonderful.
I don't know. Maybe this is we owe that to our headmaster. He is someone who always moves us forward, and we are always interested in something new. Sometimes, and of course, there is in Serbia and in our school there is a law or a regulation on teachers' development. So we are obliged to earn 100 points in 5 years as as a part of teacher training, and this is how we do. There are some seminars and workshops that are accredited, but this is the easier and cheaper way to improve your competencies. And we really work as a team. There are 10 English teachers in my school, and we really cooperate. And there is a cooperation between, as I already mentioned, between general subject teachers and VET teachers. So, for example, I'm an aviation teacher, and I really have to know a lot about aeronautics, but it's not my expertise. So I need to consult my colleagues. Sometimes they consult me because we are involved in a bilingual or CLIL teaching, so they need my assistance for English or language pedagogy, etc. So we really cooperate. It's not just formal part. Okay, we do what we are expected to do, but the point is, do we really need it, and do we really apply it later in teaching practice? So it's not something that is imposed. We do it really for our own benefits and for the benefits of our students. And we always discuss. For example, if I got back from some mobility and share the experience and share some, present some, new teaching resources or digital tools, we later discuss, is it applicable in our school, is it efficient or not? And, all decisions are brought mutually.
Daniela, thank you very much. And thank you for your full answer, because I think that makes it clear why you succeed, the answers you've just given there. I've got a question from Sandra Mangas here. She asks in particular about the skill evolution tool, Leah. She says, is this something which teachers created to evaluate their students' soft skills? Is it a tool which is available somewhere? I think what Sandra is asking is, can she please have access to this tool? Leah, can you tell us, please?
Yes. No, this is a tool that Technica, the Applied Research Center that is under the Basque government, designed. And now we are using it just to evaluate the software skills, and we are trying to make it better because it's quite difficult to evaluate autonomy and another soft skill, but we are trying as well to involve there the technical skills. And I don't know if it's open. I know that in the webpage of Technica that it was in my presentation, I know that all the information is there. I think maybe you can write to them. And here, in the soft skills, what we try to make is the teachers evaluate the 50%, the students evaluate themselves 20%, and the team evaluate to the person 30%. So we are trying with that tool to evaluate, to make students involved in the evaluation, and what it says that they are real students and they feel really well with it. And I don't know, we are just trying it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. I mean, as you know, one of the things that we're proposing on the basis of this session is to try and set up practice exchange communities where there would be an opportunity to share this kind of practice. And if we decide that this is the practice exchange community which members of the ENE network want to belong to, and if this is an interest, I guess we could invite Technica to such a community and invite them to share this tool and to explain it in greater depth to us. I think one of the important things to learn from all this is quite a lot of these developments are quite challenging and quite demanding. They need a lot of time, and it's difficult for any one centre to do all the work. If you have a centre who invests in developing a evaluation tool, then it makes sense to share that. So I've got a question from Akar Botsnevov. He asked how many credits would a teacher gain from a particular program. So I guess can you Daniela, I mean, suppose for example a teacher participated in this program and they developed a new way of teaching. How many credits would they gain from that?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check. Maybe I can share later the table with defined actions and credits. But for example, just think of about 20 credits for internal internal training. Internal, when I say internal, meaning in my school, inside the institution. So it depends on, for example, if I am the presenter, I earn more credits. For example, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, depending on the difficulties and the importance of the activity that I present. And the participants also earn. So you always have to justify and to report the discussion, the conclusions, to the presentations. So it's not just easy to sit around the table, take a coffee and speak. You need to prepare that meeting, or you need to prepare that lesson, and both authors or organizers and participants earn different credits. But if you are interested, I can translate all the activities translate.
I think Daniela, what you said is really important, because I think you've told us it's differentiated. The more you do, the more points you get, and moreover, it's not a formal program. It's demonstration of activity in the school which earns the credits. It's not going and attending a 3-day course or a 4-day course. It's actually doing peer learning, and I think that's a really excellent model for how professional development should be looked and how it should be recognized. Now, I'm going to stop taking questions there. There's a few more questions which I'm afraid I'm going to not have time for, because I want to hand things back to Florian, because Florian is now going to run some questions for the whole, all participants through Mentimeter. And I want to have a little bit of time at the end to see what comes out of that. So Florian, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Julian, and thanks to our guest speakers and to the people who asked questions. So we will now run a very short survey using Mentimeter. So please, can I ask our chat moderators to post the link to the survey in the chat? Please, all participants, click on the link in the chat. By clicking on the link, a new window in your web browser will open where you can see the Mentimeter survey. When you finish answering, please come back again to the Zoom interface, because we will show the results there. Now, about the questions. So Julian just mentioned, ETF plans to set up a pilot practice exchange community called PEC in short. And we would like to take account of your answers in launching the pilot community. So please tell us, you see the questions, how you might use such a community. You can choose one or more answers there. And also please tell us, what themes do you want the community to focus on? Here you can give a preference. The highest receives your first priority, the lowest ranked is the lowest priority. Julian will then help reflect a bit on the results. So how you might use such a community and what themes do you want the community to focus on? I give you a couple of minutes. When you are done with your answering, please come back again to the Zoom interface, because we will show the answers there. So maybe 2 more minutes. There are still some answers coming in, so we wait maybe 1 more minute and then we'll hand back to Julian to look at the results. Okay. Do you want to reflect on the first answer, first question, maybe, Julian, and then we move to the next?
Yeah, thank you very much, Florian. I'm aware that we're running out of time on this session, but I think it's pretty clear that people are interested in exchanging practices. You know that 34 people have said that they want to exchange practices. But there's pretty much a pretty similar number of people who are looking to actually cooperate. I mean, they're looking from that exchange of practices to actually cooperate, to actually work together. So I think that's very interesting, and it's encouraging to see that willingness to collaborate and to benefit from that. If you can share on screen the results of the second question, Florian, or if Pomilio can do that. Great, thank you very much indeed. Okay, so that's rather exciting because of the possibilities that we listed, because we provided a menu of different areas for these practice exchange communities. The one which seems to be most popular, which has got the most choices, is to work on teacher development, and that's followed by adult and continuing education, followed by green skills. Followed by social inclusion. So that's a pretty clear message to us. Our plan is to start fairly soon to do a little bit more research, to invite you to respond to a very short questionnaire, which we will send to you shortly. That will find out a little bit more clearly what kind of platform you want, what kind of cooperation you want, and on the basis of that, we hope to be shortly launching 1 or 2 practice exchange communities, which will give us all an opportunity to try out this, to see if it's worth our while, and to see what we benefit from it. I'm going to stop there because I know that we're very short of time. I'd like to thank Daniela and Liher for their contributions, and I'd like to congratulate their schools on their excellent practice, which I think we've all learned from. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attention and for your contributions, and I hand now back to Daria.
It's actually me, Julian.
I beg your pardon. Sorry, Florian.
No problem. I mean, Daria is of course more attractive than me. I fully understand you. So thank you very much, Julian, and thanks to our speakers. We move to chapter 2, the role of Centers of Vocational Excellence in Work-Based Learning. In that second session now, the focus is on the question of how the Centers of Vocational Excellence can support work-based learning in companies. As you know, work-based learning is a key aspect of education business collaboration, and it is one of the 8 priority thematic areas of the ENE network. The 6 countries that are involved in this particular initiative are Albania, Armenia, Belarus, Moldova, North Macedonia, and Kazakhstan. So what has been achieved so far? A baseline study was produced and already carried out to identify shared strengths and opportunities for cooperation and for development, and for the mid to long term to also assess progress of members and to develop case studies for peer learning at a later stage. Also, coaching and peer learning activities are offered to the members of the network, mainly by Centers of Vocational Excellence located in the EU. We've started work with the Latvian Vocational Education Association, and we will hear them also now. So Stefan Thomas, who is a specialist in VET policies and system at the ETF here, is leading on this work in ETF. Stefan, what is this initiative about? Can you give us a brief overview, please?
Yeah, thank you, Florian, and good morning to all of you. A very warm welcome also from my side. Can you hear me well? I hope so.
Yes, we can hear you well.
Thanks. So we have actually been observing for some time that, let's say, when countries are moving in the direction of introducing more work-based learning, options or work-based learning of higher quality, that the role of schools, of vocational schools, is essential in such reforms. And schools can indeed, they can do a lot. They can help companies to find the right students, and of course, they can also help students to find the right companies. Schools can make sure that students are well prepared when they come to a training company for the first time. Here we are, for instance, talking about counseling and career guidance, in particular for young students, but also for adults. We have to bear in mind that young students in many of our partner countries have to make their educational choice, their vocational choice at a very young age. Another way for schools to get involved is to provide pedagogical support to trainers in companies. A topic that was also touched by my colleagues in the last session. Together, schools and companies have a role in developing curricula and learning plans, individual learning plans for the workplace. Finally, we could say schools can support also the assessment of what students have learned at the workplace. So these are just a few examples. There are many more. So what we wanted to know was what is actually happening in our partner countries, or at least in some of our partner countries. And you mentioned already the 6 countries we're working with in this project, Florian, in this respect. And we also wanted to give them, or some schools in those countries, the opportunity to connect and to meet. So far, only virtually, but that is hopefully going to change soon. More concretely, the initiative offers an opportunity for vocational schools in the 6 countries you mentioned: Albania, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, in North Macedonia, and in Moldova. To find out where they stand, we will hear about that from our Latvian partners, but also where there are opportunities for improvement and for collaboration with others, among them, but also with partners in member states. As you mentioned, Florian, we do this project together with a partner, and that is the Latvian Vet Provider Associations. We clearly benefit from their recent experience in system reform. They have successfully introduced more and high-quality work-based learning in their system. The system is based on a strategic partnership between public authorities and social partners, and they have a very well working transnational cooperation with the neighboring countries in the Baltic region. For instance, just to give you one example, they have established the Baltic Alliance for Apprenticeship with their neighbors in Estonia and Lithuania. So we are happy to have all these countries and schools on board, and we are looking very much forward to the next steps in this project.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And I'm happy to welcome now 3 guest speakers. Let's start with Ms. Ilse Brante. Ilse, with your team from the Latvian Vet Provider Association, you had a look at current work-based learning practices. How do you see the situation in the 7 schools? Please, let's give us an insight.
Hello, everybody, dear colleagues. I am Ilse Brante from the Vocational Education Association of Latvia, Director of Ogre Technical School. In order to ensure the compliance of vocational education with the requirements of employers, various solutions and new forms of training are searched. One of them, the implementation of vocational education learning process in work-based learning. In Latvia, we have accumulated experience in work-based learning since 2013. It is important to gain the experience of other countries in the implementation of work-based learning. In cooperation with the European Training Foundation, we have learned about the experience of 7 vocational education institutions, 7 COVES, in 6 countries: Albania, Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Moldova, North Macedonia. Vocational Education Association of Latvia created a survey. The survey had two parts. The first part, information on the work-based learning implementation process in the 7 COVES. And second part, the role of vocational education institution or COVES in implementation of work-based learning. On this slide, we can see to extent which 7 COVES from 6 countries are involved in the implementation of work-based learning. And green means is to very large extent. We can see that all 7 COVES are involved in work-based learning. Any of these COVES have experience about the development of work-based learning in one teaching program, but all COVES will develop work-based learning together with companies in all teaching programs and will have new experience about the development in work-based learning together with companies. The results of the survey allow us to conclude in which direction the vocational education institutions should work more. Next slide, please. Here in this slide, we can see that the COVES have a leading, coordinating role in cooperation together with companies, in testing a company's ability to implement work-based learning, in developing criteria for the evaluation of work-based learning, and organize different events to involve companies in the implementation of work-based learning. Next slide, please. It is very important that all COVES believe that it is necessary to strengthen cooperation between vocational education institutions and companies. Cooperation between a vocational education institution and a company increases the quality of vocational education. Vocational education meets the requirements of employers. Employers become co-responsible for the implementation training process of vocational education and increase the prestige of vocational education. The key to the success of work-based learning is the company. When we have the company, the company accepts the training our students in company, we have possibilities to develop work-based learning. I am today together with my colleagues from Liepāja Technical School. The next slide, please. And I give the name to my colleagues from Liepāja.
Well, thank you, Ilze. Hello, everyone. My name is Agris Ruperts, and I'm a headmaster of Liepāja State Technical School and also a chairman of Vocational Association of Latvia. And as Ilze mentioned, within this project, we prepared a questionnaire for these 7 schools who participated in this survey. But after that, we also made interviews with each of these schools to clarify the answers from the questionnaire. And after these answers in the questionnaires and after these interviews, we pointed some opportunities common for all these 7 schools. And today I maybe more detailed will talk about 4 of them. First of all, we discovered, as Ilse mentioned before, that in these 7 schools, work-based learning is not implemented in every curricula, in every training program, but just in 1 or 2, depending on the specialization of a particular school. Of course, it is an opportunity to implement work-based learning in each vocational training program, but from our experience, I should say that there could be some problems in this implementation in some particular qualifications. And for instance, in bookkeeping, companies maybe wouldn't like to have students which are making their bookkeeping because they could consider that it is their commercial secret. Or there should be also some qualifications when work-based learning is forbidden because of age restrictions of students. For instance, it could be in some training programs related to energy. But also the benefit for schools, if we implement this work-based learning in more and more programs, for schools, it is a good thing to save some resources. So it means at school, we don't need to buy expensive and the complicated equipment, which is located at school, but our students are going outside the school and see the real life, real production in companies. The next thing which came out from the interviews is that it is very hard for schools to work with companies to make them interested in work-based learning. But we must show, as education providers, we must show the benefit for entrepreneurs. In many countries, the labor shortage becomes more and more important, but by engaging companies in work-based learning, companies from the very beginning of study process can form and build their future employee, and successful organization of work-based learning will also help enterprises to create and to keep a very good image of the company in the society. The next opportunity for these schools is that if we are implementing work-based learning, we can modify curricula according to the needs of labor market. Of course, in many countries, this percentage of theory and practice in curricula is determined by the state, but we can also be more flexible and make this training program more better for the needs of the company. And it is easier if companies are united in professional associations, because for schools it is easier to speak with the association, not with each particular company. And in this case, both parties, companies or schools, are winner if the cooperation between schools and companies is successful. By informing society about activities in work-based learning, companies will improve their image and get more clients. but schools can attract more and more students. How to speak with the companies, how to make them interested, we will tell more detailed for our colleagues from these 7 schools in the next coaching session, which will be next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agris. That was very interesting, and Ilse for that good introduction of giving us that overview, very rich information on which we can work. I would like to give now the word to Mr. Sanarbek Yarigasinov. Sorry for not pronouncing it correctly, maybe. He's the director of the EPEC Petrotechnic Higher College in Atirau, Kazakhstan. And I'm happy to have you. Please give us very briefly a short overview of your college. Just a minute, and then I'll have 2 other questions for you.
Okay, thank you very much. As you introduced, my name is Zanarbek Jarugasinov. I'm a director of the EPEC Petrotechnic College located in western part of Kazakhstan. If you put on the next slide, please. The EPEC Petrotechnic is just leading innovative college in Kazakhstan that was founded in 2013. Currently, EPEC Petrotechnic provides training for 8 specialties in oil and gas industry, as shown on the slides: electrical supply, chemical engineering, and so on. Currently, the current contingent is 1,370 students. The training is conducted in English, which ensures the flexibility of employing the graduates and also meets the requirements of the future employers. Educational program in our institution is built on a modular basis, which provides flexibility and allows quickly update our training models, programs, when the requirement on the labor markets demands through the industrial councils and technical committees, taking into account new achievements of science and the educational practice. When I'm talking about the industrial council, which consists of the companies providing or working in the oil and gas industry in Kazakhstan. We regularly host that. Hello, sorry, you have a question?
Yeah. Thank you very much for that brief overview. I just wanted to add one more question to that, because as you started explaining, at your college, how do you organize work-based learning with companies? Could you give us 1 or 2 good practice examples very briefly?
Yeah, on this, when we work with the industrial council, with the companies, we in this arena, we talk about these requirements that we need. One of the things that I agree with my colleagues also said earlier, that at this moment, work-based learning is very important, which is we also practice it through the dual training, dual educational system, which is one of the most forms and training that right now is needed, and which is one of the formats that for employers to prepare for themselves and reduce the cost for the and time for training and for searching the employees. This is and we practice that from the second age of learning, where the students go to the workplaces and show their what they learned in theory, and they use them on the practice. And now, our students are currently demanded, and after the graduation, we normally have a 98% of the employment rate almost every year.
Thank you. Can I ask one more question to you? Linking back to the Latvian Vet Providers Association, looking at the future, what will be the main thematic areas for cooperation from your school's perspective?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as my colleague earlier mentioned, we are also actively participating in the coaching sessions that Latvia is doing. Also from the educational system and this work-based learning, We do have similarities, of course, but some differences. So we will be continuing working with Latvia to gain something and also share with other institutions our experiences in the education arena.